I'm Julie from feastandfasten.com, where my husband and I share healthy recipes and DIYs for our home. Today I'm going to show you how I make healthy grass-fed meatballs with hidden veggies. These meatballs are a family favorite. We like to serve them Italian style in some marinara sauce over noodles. A few things I love about this recipe. It's healthy, it uses grass-fed beef, and it also uses lots of veggies. I put zucchini and carrots, garlic, fresh basil in it, and the kids love it. They don't even realize that they're eating veggies in their meatballs. This recipe also makes a lot. So we usually eat most of the meatballs the night that we have them for dinner, but I can usually send them with Drew to work in his lunch the next day. If you want to only serve half of these meatballs and then freeze the other half, they freeze very well after you've baked them. Or sometimes I like to double the recipe and use 2 pounds of ground beef rather than 1, and then I'll put half of them in the freezer for another meal. Before you get started, go ahead and preheat your oven to 425 and lightly coat your large baking sheet with oil. I like to use avocado oil because it has a high smoke point. The first thing I'm going to do is use a cheese grater to grate the Parmesan cheese. I prefer doing it this way to buying the pre-grated or shredded Parmesan cheese because I think it tastes better, and also you don't have to worry about the anti-caking agent that's often in those pre-shredded cheeses that could possibly dry out the meatballs. For this recipe, I use 1/2 cup of freshly grated Parmesan cheese. Next, I'm going to use the same cheese grater to shred up 1/2 cup each of raw carrots and raw zucchini. When you're using a cheese grater to shred up vegetables, especially a really firm vegetable like a carrot, just be extremely careful. I have cut my finger doing it this way. Another option would be to use a food processor and just chop it up really finely. Once I've finished shredding up the zucchini, I add it to a fine mesh strainer and sprinkle some sea salt or pink salt on top and stick it over the sink while I finish mixing up the rest of the ingredients. The reason I do this is to start drawing out some of the liquid so I can strain it off and add it back to the meatballs. If you don't do this, then there's going to be too much moisture in the meatballs. To the carrots and cheese, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of homemade breadcrumbs. Then I add 3 cloves of freshly pressed garlic. Next, I add about 1/4 cup of minced fresh basil from the garden. You could also use parsley or really any other herb that you like. Here I add 2 teaspoons each of red wine vinegar and soy sauce. You could also use coconut aminos or tamari instead of soy sauce. Next, I add 1/2 teaspoon of pink salt. I did use low sodium soy sauce, so if you're using regular soy sauce, you may want to decrease the salt by about 1/4 teaspoon. To that, I add 1/4 teaspoon of crushed red pepper. This is completely optional. Next, I add some fresh cracked black pepper to taste. At this point, I add 1 egg to the mixture, and I just add it straight to the mixing bowl and mix it up a little bit with a fork. Once I've mixed everything except for the ground beef, I get the zucchini and I just use the back of a spoon to push out the moisture that has started to come out of the zucchini. I add the strained zucchini to the bowl. The last ingredient I add is the grass-fed ground beef. I dump it in the mixing bowl, and I usually use my hands to mix it up. It's just easier and quicker than using a spoon. Something that helps is if I've already oiled the pan. That way I can mix it up with my hands and then go straight into rolling the meatballs into balls. Bake your meatballs for about 10 to 12 minutes until they're cooked all the way through. In the meantime, you can start heating up your marinara sauce and boiling your water for your noodles if you're gonna serve these with noodles. Once your meatballs are fully baked, let them sit for about 5 minutes and then you can add them to your marinara sauce. I allow my meatballs to simmer in the sauce for about 10 minutes, and this usually gives me time to finish up the noodles and whatever vegetable side I'm preparing to go with the meal. These meatballs are so delicious served on top of pasta with a vegetable on the side. My family loves this meal. Garnish with some more Parmesan cheese and some more fresh basil. I hope you enjoyed this recipe for healthy homemade Italian meatballs. If you found this video helpful and would like to see more healthy homemade recipes, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, head over to our blog at feastandfasten.com for detailed instructions and a printable recipe card. It'll be linked below. Thanks again for stopping by Feast and Fasten. We really hope you'll come back for more healthy recipes and DIY inspiration from our home.